Oh, hey, how's it going? You caught me working on another tool. So this is another Tool Tip Tuesday for the joy of color grading, and yeah, I what do you want to say? This is a mess. I'm working on updating something that I made several years ago. That's for pre-production for my own personal use, and kind of just playing around with how to make it better. So recently, a really great colorist and mentor, I'm part of his Discord community, Colin Kelly, kind of released privately to cinematographers uh, a smooth, a sweet spot checker for mid gray, which is a very important thing when you're dealing with. I want to make sure that the best part, the part of the image that I want to make sure I can see and is the most important part is in middle gray. And so middle gray kind of is built off of some theories like Ansel Adams. Middle gray would be dark skinned, and then middle gray +1 and +2 would be progressively lighter skin, and then 10 in Ansel stops would be pure white, 0 would be black. And then there's a whole theory and thought about how that relates to dynamic range, but we're not going to get into that. What I'm just going to say is I wanted to be able, I hate looking at false color. And if I turn on just the stock false color on my monitor, it's like, well, that is a gibbety gobblish of colors that now I have to interpret that make no sense to the image that I'm looking at. And I have to interpret that, and that makes my brain hurt because I have so many other things to worry about. I just want to know what middle gray is. And so that's kind of what I looked at Colin Kelly's sweet spot LUTs. He made them for Red, Blackmagic Design, Arri, I think an iPhone, but not Canon. So my personal camera is Canon. And so I kind of wanted to deconstruct what he was doing in his LUT and make it so that, yeah, if you have a camera and you're working with me that on a project that isn't supported by his LUTs, I would definitely use his sweet spot LUTs. I'd probably trust his math, the people that he has working with them, that they came up with something that works great for those cameras. But since I don't have one for Canon, and I kind of already made one for my camera in years past, I've kind of set up a comparison for myself to kind of see between the two what's going on and what looks good and what doesn't. And so this is this mess of a node tree. But really what it is doing is taking my input of my image, which is Davinci Wide Gamut Intermediate. Hold that thought, let me go turn that off. So yeah, it's taking my image, which is Davinci Wide Gamut in this first node, and turning it into Davinci Wide Linear, which then goes to an in Expo chart, and that Expo chart is broken up into 8 stops, not 10. I did 8 because that's all I really needed to be for what I want to do. Middle gray is set to 0.18, which is Davinci Resolve. It's set in linear, shows the ramp. I then take that Expo chart and I put it into a false color map. So this is my image coming in, and now I have a false color map, and I've tweaked it so that it's a false color generator that allows a lot of control over what the colors are in the false colors. You can completely change it to suit your own needs, and that's great, but it's still the gibbety globlish of colors that I don't like to see on a monitor, and it doesn't make sense to it. So like if we turn off the Expo chart and just go back, that's a normal false color map that I go, I don't like it. I don't know what I'm looking at. I can never remember which shade of green is that. So what I did was, out of that false color map, I kind of went in and said, all right, mid gray is this guy right here. Let's drag him in. And if we pump in that Expo chart again, and maybe I got to do it like this to show it to you. Nope. So yeah, let's see. Let's just turn on highlight, and you can look down in here. So you can see if we're in here and we click on this node, it's just selecting mid gray out of that false color chart. And we can go next node, and you can see as we cycle through these, That's the next one below. So that's one stop under, that's one stop above. And you can kind of hop around and you see that we're selecting different parts of that image using the expo chart, which was set up by stops with middle gray and everything like that. And then we're just pumping back in this guy here. And now you can see over here, when we select mid gray, all that's there in our key, because we used the 3D qualifier to select, all that's in there in our key is what is middle gray. So that's our key tied straight to that, because our false color is taking our image and generating that, which was the gobbledygook, and those colors were set to pick false gray, but we used the expo chart to get accurate picks of those colors. And you can see that down here when there's my accurate pick of my color for the different 1 stop under, 2 stop under, 3 stop under, 4 stop, and then black. And we also go 1 stop up above mid gray, and then we selected everything that's highlights, which that allows us then to come over here and make modifications to that. So we have coming in off this node, our footage just normally. We can turn off highlight mode, so you're not worried about that. And disable. Is that right? Yeah. So we have our image coming in, normal pipeline, but now we can turn on, let's turn on non-mid gray, which is this one. Boop. And mid gray. And now our image is only showing mid gray. That's all that's there. That everything that in this image, this Canon C-Log3 image, that's mid gray. And that's actually not a bad image to look at. It's a lot clearer. And so I can take this and say, this is mid gray. This is a way to generate mid gray. And I can go down here, generate a LUT, 33 point cube, and export that LUT out to my monitor, load it into my monitor. And when I look at it on my monitor, all that it will show is mid gray. But, you know, I'm a glutton for punishment and, you know, different skins. I want a little bit more range. So I just turn on +1 and -1. And now I know, based off of mid gray, up and down, this is what is generally considered good centered metered exposure based on the image, based on the workflow of what is coming in to my camera. And it's not in crazy colors. It's actually in the colors that I would normally see in the image. It's a little watercolory, but that's okay. Come on. I can't be perfect. But it's only showing me, and it's kind of clearly said, this is mid gray. This is a range of mid gray and then one exposure up and one exposure down. And so I can go, all right, this is dialed in. I can bring in more lights. I can change my aperture. I can change any of my settings on my camera till what I see on the monitor is exactly what I want to be perfectly exposed. And that's usually skin, because that's your actors and things like that. That's kind of important. But yeah. And then, yeah, so I have that as my mid gray. I'll turn off this one sometimes. So I have one that is just mid gray plus. So going into the highlights, it's just mid gray +1, and I can turn on this and generate. So anything that's gray in the image is 2 stops or more. So that's stretching into my highlights. And that can be concerning, you know, especially if it's like, whoa, that's 2 stops up on her face. And then it goes into 1 stop. And then, you know, you look at the girl's face, like part of her face, we have 3 stops of exposure on our main talent's face as she eats that hamburger. We were really 2 stops up, 1 stop up. And I mean, that captures the range of what she should be. She's in a weirdly lit room. And that's why I like playing around with this image, is because it wasn't lit on set. It was just filmed in camera with the natural light in the restaurant. But you can see that we're kind of just working that. And let's turn that back on, because no. Show viewer controls. No. It's one of these settings. I always forget. It changes and then it turns off. Gang timeline wipe to current clip. Window outline, video output on, gang 0. So if I zoom in, you can see that we're zooming in. It doesn't zoom in on that. Oh, okay, never mind. But yeah, so you can see as we're looking at that, that is highly exposed. And it's just a fun image. But now we got that. So we have mid-gray. We know what is not mid-gray and what is black headed to shadows. And so the other thing we can do is create a LUT, and you just, create a LUT. Now I have 2 LUTs that look good. This is mid-gray. And now, so a big thing is when we're dealing with the sensor floor of the camera, anything that I have to do in post-production that's on the floor and bring it up to make it more exposed, I'm going to be introducing noise, granularization, quantization, all these other fun words that I don't ever want to think about and try to remember what they mean. I just want to be able to look at an image and know that it looks good. Did it look good to me? Yes, it looks good to me. All right, cool. That's important. But what we can do is on set, we can go, let's generate a LUT that ranges down 4 stops. And now when we look at our image, so yeah, we have our normal naturalized colors of mid-gray, which is the skin and everything like that. So that's getting us, that's the floor of where we want proper exposure. And we can see that we got things going on like her hair. We got some tonal separation. So blue, red is meaning red, black is, so what I usually do, I'll turn this one on, and this is the LUT that I'll create. So anything that's gray is highlights, is pretty much going into highlights. And it is above mid-gray. It's a good reminder. And I mean to do that. I gotta add that other one. Because I'm still building this out to get my LUTs perfect. I keep adding, and it gets to be a mess. But we could add this in and just say, so our mid-gray selection is normalized skin colors. And yeah, we're starting to get into the territory of crazy false color, and that's why I turn it off and turn it off. I only want to look at what's in the shadows, and that's what's colored. And so when I'm looking at it on set, all that I see, I know generally if I'm looking at the setup and I'm looking at the thing, the windows in this restaurant are blown out. I know her skin, the side that is featured is close to mid-gray. It's a little under. I want to probably bring that up a notch. But red is pushing down into black. Is there separation in tonality in those shadows? And that's what the blue and the red kind of give me. That's when we turn off the 3rd stop. You can see the blue is 3 stops under. So 2 stops under is normal skin tone, normal colors. So our mid-gray, our 1 stop and 2 stop under are still normalized colors. Pastel-y, fun, generally like that. But then 3 stops under is our blue, a bluish tone. And then red is, we're at the floor. Like this is, the next one after this is black. And it's not going to do anything. It's just the image is already black. So, I mean, if that was the only one we had on, you can see we can kind of stretch down and see, are we filling up our image with color? Are we in the deep shadows? Where there are shadows, are we so flatlined that there is nothing being read by the camera sensor? Or are we able to see some tonal shifts throughout her hair color? And I mean, that's kind of what we get at the end of the day, is that she is generally not that exposed. It wasn't the greatest shoot. There is detail, there is tonality, there is color in her hair, which is like the darkest part of the image that is part of her. And you know that it's there on set. And so when you get to post, you know that it's there to be able to work with. And you're a lot closer, and it's not like I'm trying to fix things. Fix it in post is great. And so this is an effort to fix it in pre by doing post work ahead of time. And that's, if you look up Cullen Kelly's Sweet Spot LUTs for your camera, I would trust those more than my janky hanky panky thing, because I trust him for a lot of stuff. And his team and everyone in the Discord that he runs privately is so helpful. But yeah, this is for my own personal use and extreme private sharing use if people ask me nicely. But I don't like to, I would like to have footage from your camera and the encoding format that you plan to use on set, just so I can verify, a little bit easier to verify in setting it up customly for your camera. Because yeah, there's a lot of nodes here doing a lot of different things, and I don't want to send you off with a monitoring lot that don't work or does it all wrong. So I know this works. I know it works for me. I know that when I look at the monitor when I'm filming, that I know what is middle gray, and that's important to me. So yeah, like, subscribe, do all those YouTube things, and then I will see you on the flip side for the next time, because that's funsies. Maybe we'll actually do some grading.